that there's countless lives that don't make it to tomorrow, that lose their own lives at the cost of their own hands. And I wonder if they just kept going and they didn't stop, where would they end up? What kind of impact would they have in this world? You will never look at rejection the same after this video. I promise you, after this video, you will actually get excited for inconveniences, for minor inconveniences that happen in your life. Rejection, mistakes, heartbreak, failure, getting fired from a job, just like, friends walking out on you, or girlfriends and boyfriends leaving you. You will look at all those things completely differently after this video. And this is what I mean by, if you heard me say this before, or this might be the first time you hear me say this, when you change the things you look at, then the things you look at end up changing. Let's get into it. There is often this misconception when it comes to just failure, setbacks, heartbreak, loss of a loved one. There's so many horrible things that can happen to us in our lives. Even minor inconveniences, being late to work, getting into a car accident, like you name it. Anything of these like life's variables, these negative things that can happen to us can really cause us to spiral down and just like think less of ourselves. A person leaves us, we feel like we're not good enough. We get into a car accident, we think we're a poor driver. A job fires us and we think that we don't have any skills or talents or anything to serve in this world. We start questioning our own purpose. We start questioning why we're even here. But let me tell you that you are perfect the way that you are, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. No matter what you have gone through, no matter all the mistakes you have done, you're perfect the way that you are. But the real question is, do you believe it? Let's get into it. Like, there's this theory called the burnt toast theory. And I'll tell you a story to kind of give you an idea of what this is about. There was at the airport, there was a plane that was supposed to go to Brazil, right? 10 people ended up going to the wrong terminal. And when they eventually got redirected to the right terminal where their flight was supposed to leave, they got there so late to the point where the plane was filled and they were denied access to the plane. These 10 people were furious, upset, just they needed to get to Brazil. Each individual person had their own reason or story as to why, but they couldn't. Fast forward a couple hours later, unfortunately that flight to Brazil didn't make it. It actually crashed. Those 10 people that were extremely upset at that moment for that huge inconvenience were relieved. They went from being upset and mad to thanking God for being just so grateful for the fact that they weren't able to make it on that plane and they were granted and gifted another day. So that kind of ties into this burnt toast theory that talks about how minor inconveniences or major inconveniences ultimately redirect us and protect us from life's harms. And on top of that, open up new opportunities for success, for just wins, for knowledge, for a newfound purpose. So this is what, if you heard this quote before, where people say there's protection in the redirection. There's protection in rejection. That person walked out of your life. Guess what? That was God protecting you. Because who's to say that person was going to leave you 15 years down the road when you had a family and there were kids and all these other factors? That would hurt so much more. So be grateful, or find a way to be grateful that you're experiencing that pain then and not later. Because let's say you end up wasting your time and you get hung up on said person, and it ultimately is keeping you from the person that was crafted and made for you since the moment you were, before you even were even in this earth. So look at it from that perspective. Rejection oftentimes causes a lot of people after going through the pain, after going through the suffering, you get to a point of self-reflection. And that's because of the rejection. And from self-reflection comes self-growth. So you ultimately become better because of the rejection that occurred. So look at it from the perspective of, had that rejection never even existed, you wouldn't even look within to try to find areas within yourself to improve. Not saying there's anything wrong with you, because there isn't, but there's areas that you can strengthen. And that rejection caused a pain that ultimately, what I call, caused you to go into this phase or season of growing pains, where the pain causes you to grow in different areas and different aspects of your life. So again, I'm going to reiterate, when you change the things you look at, then the things you look at change. So when inconveniences happen, when rejection happen, when all of life's not so fun, great moments occur, try to find a positive angle. I've said this in previous videos, but oftentimes when we go through a rough season or a traumatic experience, there are 3 mental maps that are mapped out in front of us. But we are often only able to see 2 out of the 3. One being that event occurred and we're left worse than we were before. The second one being that event occurred and it left us in the same spot where we started. So nothing changed negatively or positively. And for most people, that still is a poor outcome. And then the third option that we tend to overlook or don't even think that it exists, but it's always there, is that event occurred and it made us stronger and more capable of handling more things that life will inevitably throw at us. So I hope that helps. I'm going to share a story. May 9th, 2022, my dad pulled a knife on me. A month later, the woman who I was dating for a couple of years, I thought I was going to marry, she left me because of the fact that traumatic experience caused me to not be able to handle it healthily. I was very toxic. I closed myself off. I just didn't know how to deal with that traumatic experience. So I ended up hurting her and pushing her away. I bled all over her because I didn't take the proper time to heal. Fast forward about a year and a half later, I ended up losing my career. I was in law enforcement for 2 years and I had to walk away because my mental health was so damaged and I couldn't keep it together. And I made so many mistakes to the point where I couldn't stay in the profession. That being said, I hit a point of rock bottom where I honestly I started my life all over again from the ground up. And what I realized is during that time frame, I started creating content and sharing aspects of my pain and suffering and reminding myself that I wasn't alone, because other people connected with my content and I had a story to share. And that's the source. A lot of the sources of all my content are the experiences and the things that I go through. And that led to me establishing my online business, to me being able to honestly find a newfound purpose as to why I'm placed on this earth. And I firmly believe that my sole purpose, my major goal, the reason why God crafted me to be here is to leave people better than how I found them. So I wouldn't have found that. I wouldn't be able to even verbalize that and articulate that if I didn't go through the trials and tribulations that I went through. I went through the test and I'm in the process of reaching my testimony to share with others and impact them all in a positive way. So again, look at life's major and minor inconveniences as a form of protection and a form of redirection to where you are ultimately supposed to be in life. And you won't get there if you stop. You have to keep going. And eventually, at some point, you'll look around and realize you are far removed from where you once were. And you have grown into this person that you can at least to some point be so proud of. But then be so excited about where you're going. Because you found this, I wouldn't say found, you stumbled into this path that you didn't even know existed, because you were redirected towards it. And mental health is it's such a heavy, touchy subject. But I have to ask myself, oftentimes, like, I hit rock bottom and there were moments where I didn't think tomorrow was worth it. But if I really believed that and I followed through with it, I would have never gotten to where I am today. And there's countless lives that don't make it to tomorrow, that lose their own lives at the cost of their own hands. And I wonder if they just kept going and they didn't stop, where would they end up? What kind of impact would they have on this world? Yeah, I'm grateful that I didn't give up. And this is my message to you. Don't give up. If you're in that moment, if you feel as though you're in a point where you're struggling to hold on, struggling to find a reason to make it to tomorrow, I'm telling you, just keep going. Take your next step, because eventually it'll all make sense. I promise you. As long as you don't stop, it will all make sense. I just want to say thank you so much for listening to me chatting in the car. I'm hoping it came out good. I'm hoping everything mapped out very well. If you liked anything I said, if you found any impact, any movement in what I shared with you today, hit the subscribe button. Comment below what your favorite parts were. Let me know what you liked, what you resonated with. Talk to your boy. And men, I'm talking to you. If you're going through a tough season, a heartbreak, struggling to hold on, and you're ambitious and you want to just heal yourself and find yourself again and remind yourself who you are again and heal that masculinity in the healthiest way possible with like-minded men on that same exact healing journey and get direct access to me, then click on the link in the description, join the school community. It's growing aggressively. We get new members every day, and I would love to see you show up for you. So make the decision. Click below, and I'll see you in there. Peace from D's.